Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with, at last, the completion of the Mark Elder Hallé Vaughn Williams cycle. And it basically sucks. Sorry to say. And I just find it fascinating that with all the wonderful performances of this music, and they're mostly very good ones, that people still just like witlessly praise whatever new thing comes along, almost without thinking. Now, there are five if you include mono, but let's say in stereo, four really decent Vaughn Williams symphony cycles. They are Adrian Bolt, Leonard Slatkin, Andre Previn, and Andrew Davis. That's it. That's where we are with Vaughn Williams. Now, Bryden Thompson had some really good stuff. The Chandos second set, which was mostly with Richard Hickox, was mostly pretty bad. The Haitink is excruciatingly abysmal, the worst ever. And then there's this one. And I'm sorry, there's Keys Buckles, isn't there? On Naxos, who's also quite good. So that makes five that are sort of worth listening to. It's actually surprisingly good. So, there's Vaughn Williams sort of pops out of the woodwork now and again. But it's still kind of niche repertoire. It's still kind of specialized. And maybe that's why everybody gets all excited whenever a new cycle starts to happen, as well they should. The best thing that could happen for Vaughn Williams would be a new Vaughn Williams cycle that has nothing whatsoever to do with anything British. Zippo, just to show that his music travels and that other people can do it just as well. We almost got there with Slatkin, but of course he had to do it with an English orchestra. Nobody would have looked at it twice. If he'd done the whole thing in St. Louis, now that would have been something. Anyway, so here we have what used to be called the Hallé Orchestra. On the front here, it's just called Hallé. On the disc things, it's called the Hallé, and apparently the Hallé, the Hallé, and Mark Elder, though, is still called Sir Mark Elder. So I think what this should just be the Hallé conducted by Elder, or the Hallé conducted by the Elder, and then we would be consistent. I don't get it. I don't get the whole branding business that's going on here. It's so demented. It's an orchestra. You can call it that. It's not going to scare people away. Anyway, so it's Hallé doing Vaughn Williams, and it says here, the Financial Times, on the recording of Symphonies 4 and 6. This ongoing cycle of Vaughn Williams symphonies for Mark Elder and the Hallé is shaping up to be a highly impressive achievement. Now, Symphonies number 4 and 6 are among the worst in this series. They are lightweight, sluggish, totally lacking in bite, in punch, in excitement, in vigor, in the necessary violence, in intensity, in emotionally expressive angstitude. It's all missing. Gone. Those performances, most of these actually, were reviewed individually on ClassicsToday.com, and you can look at most of those reviews. Victor Carr Jr. reviewed Symphonies 4 and 6 and said that they sucked, and they do. So, let's write off the Financial Times, shall we? Next, we have the Sunday Times on their recording of a London symphony. They wrote, "The orchestra's music director stakes his claim as the country's foremost Vaughn Williamsian. He's a Vaughn Williamsian with this exceptionally vivid and superbly recorded live account." Well, a London symphony sucks. I mean, does it suck? Yes, it does, basically. And for the same reasons 4 and 6 did. It has no climaxes. When the orchestra explodes in the introduction, pow, da, 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 it's supposed to sound really nasty. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It looks like they need more Vaughn Williamsians, because if Elder is the best Vaughn Williamsian that they have, then there is a dearth of Vaughn Williamsians available in the UK at present. Surely they can do better. I just can't believe that they can't do better. Maybe they will do better. Maybe Chandos will do a third Vaughn Williams cycle, and we'll get with someone like Gardner or Edward Gardner or one of those people who are really very good conductors, and we'll see who the real Vaughn Williamsian really is. Anyway, so the London Symphony is a snooze, and the others. Let's talk about the others. Well, a Sea Symphony. Oh, it's awful, 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 awful. Oh, it's just no. Oh, it's so boring. It's just so unbelievably boring. Let me put it to you this way. I mean, these are live recordings for the most part. I think they all are. I don't know, but anyway, I don't care. They have no impact at all. I mean, you can tell the orchestra doesn't actually get louder. It just gets bigger. You know what I mean? The difference is, there are more people participating, and you know that more noise is happening, but it's not louder. I mean, I was listening to the opening of a London Symphony just today, just before doing this, to make sure my memory had not played me false, and I'm listening to they're going, "Behold the sea," pow, with an opening brass fanfare that sounds like it was recorded in another town. It wasn't the Hallé, it was the Birmingham, whatever. I mean, sounded 100 miles away. Anyway, so they're all screaming and yelling, the choirs are going, and the organ is thumping, and everything's happening. And I hear, so what do you think that was? And I was playing it loudly. I mean, I was not hesitating or restricting the volume. That crunching, crackling sound was my cat, Peepo, eating her cat treats. And her little crunching, my dainty little 17-year-old senior citizen cat, was making a bigger sound than the entire assembled forces at the opening of a Sea Symphony. That is not a good sign. And the tempi are slow. I mean, the last movement's 31 minutes of oh, goodness, of transcendental muck. Oof. Okay, let us continue, shall we? So we know that most of what we've heard so far is horrible. The Pastoral Symphony. Okay, the opening movement, so many people blow this opening movement. It needs to have flow. It needs to have fluidity and rhythm and motion. Well, this doesn't. People monkey with it and break the back of the phrases, and it's just not good. And the scherzo is way too fast in its main body, which means the really fast prestissimo, very quiet coda that's magical. Well, it's not so much magic. So that's not so hot. We've already done 4 and 6. 5 is quite good. It has swift outer movements and a lovely romanza, and it doesn't die anywhere, so that's very good. 8 is also quite good. 8 is until the finale. The finale is always problematic because of the balance with all that extra percussion. You can't ever hear the vibraphone, which is terrible. It's got the tune half the time. And you've got to hear it. You've got to hear those mallet instruments, but that doesn't come through at all. I don't know why not, but it just doesn't. And there are, throughout these performances, all of these odd anomalies of balance and things like that. I don't know whether wherever they're playing in Manchester, is it the Free Trade Hall still? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they have a concert hall now. I don't know where they're playing, but it just doesn't sound natural as often as not. It really doesn't. Now, the Antarctica, number 7. Oh, it's a disaster. The Antarctica is okay in the first movement. The scherzo, the second movement, is just half the tempo it's supposed to go at. Da 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 ba-dum bum ba-dum bum ba-dum bum ba-dum. And the penguins, oh my goodness, they're just limping along. It's so sad, those poor penguins. I hear that global warming risks getting rid of the emperor penguin entirely in the next few decades. Well, I believe it now. This is the effect of global warming on the emperor penguin, is that movement. And then the cool, super cool third movement on the glacier. And it's supposed to be. Now, I give Elder credit. He gets the glittery, Celesta, Glockenspiel stuff. It's very well done. So it has the right sort of glittery atmosphere to it. But of course, the organ. The organ. One of you mentioned how annoyed you were with the Previn recording because it has a weird sounding organ, which it does, but I think it's very effective because it doesn't sound traditionally churchy and it's loud. Well, the organ is, there's an organ playing in a church somewhere. That's all we know about this particular Sinfonia Antarctica. Again, it doesn't get loud. It just gets more. There's something so odd about this, the engineering, and it may not be entirely Elder's fault. I mean, heard live, these things might have had much more impact than they do on disc, but boy, they don't on disc. So finally, that leaves us with number 9. And number 9 is not bad. It's okay. It doesn't leave much of an impression at all, to be honest with you. I found it to be especially the second movement, with its sort of the climax. Again, it's supposed to be sort of wild. Dun 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 ba bam bum 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 it's swirling and stuff, and the oafs and fairies are jumping up and down or whatever it's supposed to be. It was originally ballet music about oafs and fairies. So yes, it doesn't sound oafish or fairy-like at all. And then the finale, those last big crashing chords, it just doesn't culminate. It doesn't culminate at all. There's just no satisfying, moment of final striving in the whole thing. Okay, so there you go. It sucks, basically. 5 and most of 8 are good. The rest of it, absolutely, totally forgettable. And, if this is the foremost Vaughn Williamsian in the UK, then Vaughn Williams is not in good shape. I really think I was so disappointed in this. I wanted it to be wonderful. I desperately wanted it to be wonderful because I think Vaughn Williams is really one of the 20th century's great composers, one of the great symphonists, and he deserves luxury treatment. He really does. He deserves the best, absolutely the best, from interpreters who believe in every note and are sympathetic to what he's doing and know how to project it, and engineers who know how to bring out all the beauty of his orchestration, and orchestras that will give their lives for it. Well, that's not happening. It's just not happening, which pisses me off. So this is definitely worth ignoring, and we'll just stick with the ones that I've recommended. Just stay with either, Davis or the Naxos with Buckles, or Previn or Bolt, or Slatkin, and you're in great shape. You really are. This, ignore. Just ignore it. It's a non-happening. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.